Hades is a roguelite game which, through procedure-generated levels, turn-based gameplay, grid-based movements, and permanent death of the player character, created the genre. In the game Hades, you are playing as the prince of the underworld, Zagreus, in an attempt to escape the underworld to reach Olympus for a better life. During this, you have to battle Hades, your father's minions, and the underworld's enemies in order to escape. However, you receive help from gods from Olympus and friends in the underworld who send trinkets, powers, and weapons to assist you. From IGN Review, it describes Hades as a one-of-a-kind roguelite experience that does a brilliant job of marrying its fast-paced action with its persistent, progressive story through a vividly reimagined Greek mythological underworld, while giving it a rating of 9 out of 10 for the game overall. Through this video essay, I hope to exemplify that Hades is a one-of-a-kind game, which also offers and offers various interpretations of Greek mythology and historical context, creating its own reality of the Greek mythology universe. I want to first introduce the protagonist Zagreus. He is sometimes referred to as a god of Orphism, which is a religion that remains on a strict vegetarian diet in order to remain an ascetic life, and its believers also often believe that they will spend time infinitely with Orpheus and other heroes after death. Zagreus was also considered to be one of the highest gods, being paired with Gaia. However, this may be only referenced to by certain gods in the underworld. Though not for certain, Zagreus was often linked with being Hades' son. As known in the mythology, Hades in fact has three children: Zagreus, the god of Orphism, slash the prince of underworld; Melino, the bringer of nightmares and madness; and Macaria, goddess of blessed death. However, during the gameplay, there were certain elements that were discussed regarding Hades' children, which creates a vivid imagery of storytelling. After dying in an intense boss fight of Elysium against Bull of Minos and King Theseus, I was sent to the house of Hades. Once entering the chamber, Hades called Zagreus useless, highlighted in bold red in the center of the screen. After Zagreus talks to Hades about whether Hades has any offspring with Nyx, Hades actively takes a role in insulting Zagreus, claiming that he is a blasted kin, and that he has such weak blood that why would Hades risk having another child like Zagreus? Zagreus then proceeds to bring up his encounters with the gods from Olympus, that he heard certain tales regarding his Zagreus' siblings and Hades' son. Hades finally replies with that he has no heirs, and that Zagreus could not rise to the occasion if he tried, and that Zagreus only has Hades as his father. This could entail that the developers played an active role in incorporating the multiple interpretations of the Greek mythology. Because Zagreus does have two siblings, however, in the game of Hades, it is dubious whether Zagreus has two siblings at this point of time. Zagreus, being the eldest son, highlights that his siblings may have not been born yet. However, it is implicit from the gods of Olympus that siblings, Hades' brothers, that there may be in fact more children to Hades. In addition, when I pay attention to visual narrative, you can see different player models which humanizes some of the characters. Hades appears as a huge mysterious man with a beard and a grumpy face, while Zagreus looks more ambitious and cheeky. These simple details create a visual narrative of a disappointed grumpy dad and an ambitious son trying to escape another world. Right alone, this creates the importance of visual dystopian story throughout the game. Following that, Orpheus can also be interacted with in the House of Hades. Orpheus was often known for his legendary music and prophet in the ancient Greek religion. It is important to note that Greek mythology between Hades and Orpheus. During this mythology, once Orpheus' wife died, he went to the underworld in attempts to bring her back to the overworld. During that time, he consulted Hades and requested his wife back to life. After playing his music to Hades, Hades was so motivated that he let Orpheus bring his wife to the overworld on one condition, which is that on the way back to the overworld, if Orpheus looks back, his wife will be lost forever in the underworld. As Orpheus was going back to the overworld, he looked back only to find out his wife has remained at the underworld for all eternity. In the house of Hades, Zagreus talks to Orpheus, asking him why Orpheus is not playing music for the court. Orpheus responds that he has lost his muse and that he has lost all his will to chase his passions in life. Zagreus exclaims that he is having passions to leave the underworld. However, Orpheus claims that he has no luck in his search and that he is not searching for anything and will just be in House of Hades for now. This could be interpreted in many different ways. Following the mythology between Hades and Orpheus, Orpheus' wife is trapped in underwear for all eternity, and he could be trying to find possible ways to spend time with his wife. Another interpretation is that Orpheus has lost all his muse for eternity, that the muse being his wife, as his wife has disappeared forever. For the average player who may not necessarily know the entirety of Greek mythology, they may not understand these interpretations. However, after understanding the historical context, this changes the game entirely from a completely different experience. There are elements of combat, storytelling, skill, mechanics which cannot be compared to on just a surface level, which needs to be dived deeper. Following storytelling, I want to focus more about the mechanics and interactions of the game, for example, the decorations and combat. Such elements make the game more player friendly and rewarding. In the House of Hades, you are able to customize individual upgrades and decorations. From the chairs to the house in the House of Hades, a fishing rod used to pick up items, or cleaning a dining table. These give players the unique Hades experience. I want to showcase some game weaponry and mechanics. The first weapon is being the rail of adamant. This is considered one of the most complex weapons in the game. It is clearly shown by the word adamant, which refers to a mythically metal alloy, which is hardest of all substances and quote unquote unconquerable. Unlike any other weapon, this weapon is ranged and gives automatic rapid fire as well as a reload mechanic. If mastered, this weapon can have a high skill ceiling, giving players a different playstyle. Another similar weapon that is available is the Chat, the heart-seeking bow. Unlike the rail of adamant, it is a single-fire weapon but also compromises with a longer range. Each shot is an individual reload, as is the bow, and in the codex, which gives a brief description of the weapon, it shows that the bow is certainly the finest bow ever conceived, and wielded by none other than the mistress Hera, who stood by the side with Zeus on better terms back then, as they drove back the Titans under a storm of arrows and thunder. It is gifted by the gods for Zagreus to escape the underworld. The next weapon I want to focus on is the Shield of Chaos. This was the predecessor of the very Aegis wielded by Lord Zeus and by Athena, his most favored daughter, and the Lord of Thunder defended his brothers and sisters using that very shield when together they conspired to drive the Titans back into the lowest reaches of the underworld. It offers a more conservative playstyle as it is the only weapon in the game Hades that can shield attacks while doing a lot of melee damage at the same time. And the next weapon, which I personally find my favorite, is the weapon I want to go through, is the Eternal Spear gifted from Hades. It has an extended range compared to the shield and has a fast combo attack, which is used to hit multiple enemies at the same time from afar. This gives players a melee weapon with longer range and higher attack speed. However, due to its long range, the weapon lacks a lot of area effect, which this playstyle gives the players a longer range to attack with low mobility and high attack speed. On contrary to this weapon, I want to go through the starting weapon, which is the blade of which is the Stygius, the blade of the underworld. This weapon is not bad, but however, unlike the spear, it has a smaller range, but has a slightly larger area effect, which makes it easier to combo enemies at the same time, but at the risk of being attacked at a closer range. The weapon description is that it must have been among the finest weapons ever wielded, back when it was whole, back when the six elder gods sealed the Titans in the deepest recesses of Tartarus. That blade evidently played no small role in their success. It must have been Lord Poseidon who brandished that blade before he opted for that trident he so likes. The reason why I go so much in detail in these weapons and mechanics is because it gives a great example of the variety in the game. The mechanics, the playstyles, the storytelling, everything is unique about this game. These weapons are not superior to real life weapons such as the Poseidon's trident, Zeus's bolts of thunder, the Medusa's head, etc. But they have their own history and power behind them. This creates a never before seen universe of the Greek mythology, almost as if it is another reality. In fact, it might be another reality because you can physically play it in the 21st century. Although it uses the most non-fictional information and characters overall, I think that I think there's also a very similar game that which came out quite a few years ago, which is God of War. God of War creates a dystopian scenario where you play a character Kratos, born in Sparta, which is also a demigod of Zeus, who eventually slays Ares, becoming the god of war. During this game's franchise, with many betrayals and lots of story twists, he slays many gods of Olympus and the underworld, including Zeus, Poseidon, Icarus, Hades, and Athena, and many, many more. Although in Hades you do not technically kill any gods because they respawn in the House of Hades, in the underworld, but this still creates a dystopian narrative which is apparent in both games. In Greek mythology, there are no interpretations of sagas reaching Olympus. However, in this game, the sole goal of this game is to betray everything you know to escape Olympus, which gives it its own reality. I just want to conclude that Hades' visual narrative, player interactions and mechanics, weapons, and all of the game creates its own reality of Greek mythology in a visual game setting while also creating a unique player experience. Thank you for listening.